first off for you, I mean, just getting the player's perspective of this crazy, off season that has become a year and a half in the making now, what's the
Yeah.
experience been like as a player?
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, the fall, it was so, I don't want to say it was tough in the fall, but it was hard because it was so far away that you're thinking about, okay, when are we playing this game? And you kind of start to think, are we even going to get a game? Things like that. But I mean, even going outside and like seeing the weather today, how it's so great. I mean, it's enticing. Like you want to play a game. So I think it's honestly like when you're going to practice, it becomes a little bit more real. And it's just thinking back to those times, like we haven't been on a team bus traveling in so long. And those are some of my favorite memories, things like that. So it's kind of like a rush of excitement a little bit that you get to do this all together. It's um, cherry on top of the Sunday.
Definitely. Well, I look at kind of the roster, and it's not a ton of seniors. You and McKenna and Amanda. I think that's it now, right? Just the three
Yeah.
of you. Um,
Yeah.
so looking
Small
at
group,
that,
but mighty.
well, that's right. I'm just wondering, you being a part of that group, what do you feel like has been, the role of the three of you, not just through, this crazy process and, being leaders of the team, but also, being three prominent members of the team as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky because both of them are my roommates. And what's so funny is Amanda plays a huge leadership role as well. But we're all three very, very different in the best ways possible. So we kind of complement each other, and there's no question of loyalty. I mean, I would step in front of a bullet for either one of them, and I know they would do the same. And it's cool having like a small group of three because it's so intimate, because you get to have deep conversations like that, and we're living with each other. Um, and yeah, with like the role on the team, what it just feels like everybody on the team, coaches included, are an extension of us. Like, I mean, I like to brag that our team, you can't really tell a difference between who's a senior, who's a freshman, because we're so integrated. But um, no, it's definitely special, and it's going to make winning games alongside them that much sweeter. Um, and eventually, when we get to the last game, hard to say goodbye too. So you just want to keep playing for as long as you can. So you're playing for those two other girls.
That's right. Oh, hey, Coach.
I agree.
Welcome. I'm just covering some questions for Anne Marie first, so she can, get out of here sooner rather than later.
Sounds good. She's a busy girl.
Yeah. Well, so I have one last one for you. Just being, the veteran and having been on this team from, Patriot League championships, being the peak of it and everything. You look at this group this year. What do you feel like are just some of the strengths of the team as you come into this season?
First thing that comes to mind is camaraderie and cohesion. That's not even a question. And we could feel that before this pandemic all happened, when we were in the spring training for each other. The energy, it's contagious. I mean, when you're playing with one another like that, and the fact that it hasn't faltered at all through all of this and all the adversity we've been handed is pretty remarkable. I mean, I would say I haven't really experienced that with many other teams. And it's something you look forward to when you go to train, things like that. Even doing little things, going to get coffee, FaceTiming them off the field. I mean, there's no question of playing for one another. And I think, honestly, from my perspective, that's what's going to carry us this year, is that kind of camaraderie. And then the play is going to come right after that. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. That's everything I had for you. So appreciate it.
Nice and easy.
Yeah, of course. So first off, just starting off with this unprecedented off season, obviously that no one could have seen coming. And here we are so many months later, finally getting ready for a season. I'm wondering, from kind of the head of it all, what have you seen from your team and your coaching staff, just the overall program, overall this time, maybe what have you learned through this whole process?
Well, certainly that we're still standing is resilience. And that goes for a lot of people that are trying to carry on their work. And when I say their work, areas that they have passion, our students academically, that they have continued to commit to challenging themselves and putting the effort in and being focused and enthusiastic about their academic work. And then I'd say the same thing about, I just heard AJ mention it, just the commitment to kind of get outside yourself and connect, and as best you can. It's not the way we want it to be, but making the best of it and supporting others and letting others support you. So there's that element that that is unusual and hard for us, because we are usually, we got this and we don't need a lot of, and we certainly are always enjoying the connection part of being part of it, of the team. But when things are a little bit more challenging, and I'd say individually, just with, coping with, all the things we are all coping with, the extra energy it takes to put yourself, to give, to pour things into the team environment. It takes a little, some people that find that easy because they get a lot of energy from it. And for some others, it's probably a little bit more difficult because that takes a little bit more energy, right? But for everybody to be committed to continuing to support and be connected is something that as AJ mentioned, is something that I think has been tremendous.
Mm-hmm. It definitely seems like that's become a necessity, really, across athletics too this year.
It has. And, there are days that people might feel like they just want to crawl into their own little foxhole. But that's not really conducive to creating the kind of team environment that when you start to train and play together and need each other on game day, when that's hopefully coming up real soon. That's not going to put you in that place where where you're spiritually together as a unit competing, right?
Exactly.
That takes relationships to have been built and all that, and that's not been easy to do. It's taken a lot more effort because it can't be as natural right now. And then the third thing is just their commitment to continue to train. They did it all fall, knowing they weren't playing a game. They did it during the winter session when they weren't here in front of us, and they were left to their own devices, with still having an idea of what the schedule might look like, but having a lot of uncertainty about why am I doing all this?
Yeah.
Is it gonna matter? And they did it, and they continue to do it even with this what we're calling certainty of a Patriot League schedule and NCAA tournament, but still with hearing and knowing, based on what's happened before, that there's a lot that's out of their control that could change things in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
When they go from planning on playing games and playing for a championship and an NCAA tournament bid to, that it could be taken away again.
Yeah. Well, look.
But it hasn't changed their commitment to work hard, to pour their energy physically and mentally, and their passion to be out there. They've done a really good job of, just taking the things that are out of their control and just putting it to the side and controlling what they can control. And they've been marvelous that way. I mean, it's been really, I tell anyone, there's lots worse things going on in the world than what's happening here at BU women's soccer. But I also don't want to minimize the challenge that our student athletes have been facing with all of those things I just mentioned.
Yeah, for sure. Looking on the field a little bit, you've had a lot of time to now sit on, a little bit of a down season maybe for the program after winning the Patriot League title, going 5-12-2 the next year. Now that you've had so much time to, I guess, digest that, look at it, from your perspective, what do you feel like was the difference between, being at the top of the Patriot League and then the next season, maybe falling down a little bit? What was that gap, and maybe what are you trying to kind of make up for now?
Well, the gap was that we lacked maturity in 2019, and we had a lot of maturity in 2018. Players that were confident, that they were poised and composed under pressure. They, when things were going awry on the field, they were able to get stable again. And in 2019, we just didn't have that. There was not a whole lot of differential in talent. It wasn't differential in desire. or effort. What the difference was is that when things started to get, you know, where I would say it like this: things started to happen to us, and we had a hard time of grabbing the game back. It didn't seem to show up in practice. It showed up as a fragility in the game environment, and we didn't react well to difficult moments. And it then looked like we weren't in unison. It wasn't that everybody was, disconnected because they didn't want to play with each other. It was just they were disconnected because there wasn't trust in it. They didn't trust themselves. They didn't trust what we were doing as a unit. And so it was, it was bits here and there and bits and pieces. And that's just not winning soccer.
Yeah, definitely. Another kind of note from then till now, obviously now without Anna Helferding, joining National Women's Soccer League, which is a great accomplishment for her, but certainly leaves a bit of a hole, at the forward positions for your team. How are you going to deal with, I guess, that absence now and replace that talent?
Yes, that's not how I roll, Brady. So one player doesn't make the team, and she certainly is a talented player, but no soccer team is built around one player. And I think the difference between 2018 or 2019 and 2021, we skipped 20. That's just going to be basically a forgotten memory. But between 19 and 21 is that the team has grown up a lot. The players that are the Jenna Oldhams and the McKenna Kennedys and the Ashley Bucks and the Ashley Rayfeld, and we have Anne-Marie Jaworski back. And Morgan Messner. So now we've got core players in every line. Elle Conlon absolutely has to be mentioned. Now we've got core players in every line, and they're more mature, and they I think I trust and I expect that, again, the desire's there, the talent is there, that they have the maturity to deal with what the game demands and react in a more poised and composed way, and trust that they know what they're doing and how they get back on the front foot in a game versus it starts to get out of control and they don't, we're not stopping. We're not getting back to playing BU women's soccer. I mean, it's being able to imprint your style. And this group of returners, I am confident, has the maturity to do that.
For sure. And you talked about expectations a little bit. I just wanted to get, your idea of kind of the goals for this team and, what the ambitions are ahead of this obviously unique season. Only, I think, 6 games scheduled, right? It's going to be a sprint. But what are you hoping for from the team this spring?
Well, 2 things. There's really 2 buckets. One bucket is competing and having joy in playing the game. And that again is, I think, completely in our control. That we that we continue to, be able to feel that, express it, and demonstrate the joy and the competitiveness. And then there's the other bucket, and the other bucket is, is performance and results, and feeling satisfied with how we're playing and where we position ourselves when the regular season is end, and then positions ourselves to play in the tournament and win the tournament. So that's another bucket. And the two are separate. Mm-hmm. They have to be, because one is much more in our control, and the other one is in our control in that we certainly should expect that we play to the best of our ability. But the thing we can't control is we haven't played in a very long time. There's going to be potentially a bit of a learning curve, just getting back into full field gameplay after the hiatus. And then we can't control what the opponent, the quality of the opponent. So that is going to be, it's hard for me to say. What I want is the joy and competitiveness, the thing that we can control, to be there from now until the final whistle. The performance and the satisfaction with the performance and the results, I want us to be the best we can be on day one, and then improve as we go. That just, and improve as fast as we can in areas that, whether it's a win or a loss, to improve our performance.